The storm arrived without warning. Dark clouds covered the night sky above the small farming colony of Red Valley. Heavy rain crashed against the fields.
It's all right,
Strong
easy now.
winds shook the trees. Most people stayed inside their homes. Nobody wanted to be outside on a night like this.
What is
Inside
that?
a farmhouse near the edge of the colony,
A galactic priority
Lucas
target.
Reed sat alone in his kitchen, a warm cup of coffee
Hey,
resting
easy
in his
now.
hands.
You're safe here.
The soft light
Storm
above
is
the
bad
table
outside,
was the
but you're
only
dry.
light in the room.
You want some water?
Lucas was a simple man. He spent most
Target
of his days
located!
working on his
Target
farm.
located!
Life in Red Valley was usually quiet. Nothing exciting ever happened. That was exactly how Lucas liked it. A loud crack of thunder shook the house. Lucas looked toward the window. Rain covered the glass so heavily that he could barely see outside. The storm seemed to be getting worse suddenly. A strange feeling
Recovery
settled in his
protocol
chest.
active.
Something felt wrong. He could not explain why. Then he heard knock, knock, knock. Lucas froze. For a moment, he thought he had imagined it. Nobody would be outside during a storm
Don't
like
worry,
this.
kid. Whatever that
Especially
is,
not this
it's
late
not
at
getting
night.
through this door.
Another knock echoed through the house. This time louder. Knock, knock, knock. Lucas slowly stood up. His heart beat faster. The farmhouse sat far away from the nearest neighbor. Visitors were rare. Visitors during a storm were almost impossible. He walked toward the front door. The knocking stopped. Only the sound of rain remained. Lucas placed a hand on the door handle. Then he opened the door. Cold wind rushed inside. Rain sprayed across the floor. For a second he saw nothing. Then he looked down. A small figure stood on the porch. It was a child, a little girl. She looked no older than 10. Long silver hair hung over her face. Her clothes were soaked from the rain. She swayed slightly as if she could barely remain standing. Lucas stared in surprise. The girl was not human. Her ears were slightly pointed. Faint blue markings glowed on her skin. She looked frightened, exhausted, and completely alone. Before Lucas could speak, the girl collapsed forward. He quickly caught her before she hit the ground. "Hey," he said. "Can you hear me?" The girl did not answer. Her eyes remained closed. Lucas looked into the darkness behind her. No vehicles, no lights, no footprints, nothing. It was as if she had appeared out of nowhere. He carried her inside and closed the door. The warmth of the house slowly pushed away the cold air. Lucas placed the girl on the couch. He grabbed a blanket and covered her. Water dripped from her clothes onto the floor. She looked weak, far too weak to be traveling alone. Lucas knelt beside her. The strange blue markings on her skin glowed softly. He had never seen anything like them before. Red Valley occasionally received alien visitors, but none had looked like this child. As Lucas adjusted the blanket, something caught his attention. A metallic band surrounded the girl's wrist. It looked damaged. Small sparks occasionally flickered from its surface. The device was clearly advanced technology. Far more advanced than anything used in the colony. Lucas reached toward it. The moment his finger touched the metal, the device activated. A blue holographic screen appeared above the wristband. Lucas jumped back in surprise. Numbers flashed across the screen. Symbols moved rapidly. Most of them made no sense. Then the display changed. A single line appeared in large glowing letters. Galactic priority target. Lucas frowned. What is that supposed to mean? The screen changed again. A picture of the girl appeared. Below the image was another number. Lucas stared at it. His eyes widened. The bounty amount was impossible, absolutely impossible. The number continued across the screen for several lines. It was worth more money than Lucas could imagine. More than entire worlds, more than vast mining systems. More than some governments possessed. His mouth slowly fell open. What? He whispered. The storm thundered outside, but Lucas barely heard it. Why would anyone place such a bounty on a child? Nothing about her made sense. She looked scared. Small, harmless, not dangerous. A soft sound interrupted his thoughts. The girl moved slightly beneath the blanket. Her eyes slowly opened. Bright violet eyes met his. Fear instantly filled her face. She tried to sit up, then winced from pain. "It's okay," Lucas said gently. "You are safe here." The girl looked around the room nervously, as if expecting someone to attack her. "Where am I?" she asked quietly. Her voice barely rose above a whisper. "Red Valley Colony," Lucas replied. "My farmhouse." The girl seemed confused, then relieved for a brief moment. Some of the fear left her eyes. "What is your name?" Lucas asked. The girl hesitated. Several seconds passed. Finally she answered. "Lyra." Lucas smiled slightly. "Well, Lyra, you look like you need some rest." Before she could respond, the damaged wrist device suddenly flashed red. The room filled with warning lights. A sharp electronic sound echoed from the hologram. Both Lucas and Lyra looked toward the screen. New words appeared, large, bright, and impossible to ignore. Target located. Lyra's face instantly turned pale. Fear returned to her eyes, not ordinary fear, pure terror. The kind of fear that came from knowing something terrible was already on its way, outside, far beyond the storm clouds. A distant light appeared in the night sky, and it was getting closer. Lyra could not take her eyes off the flashing warning. The red light from the damaged wrist device filled the room. Over and over, the same message appeared. Target located. Lucas stared at the screen. His mind raced with questions. Who was searching for this child? Why was she worth such an impossible bounty? And most importantly, why did she look so terrified? Lyra quickly grabbed the wrist device and covered the screen with her hand. The warning disappeared. But the fear on her face remained for several seconds. Neither of them spoke. Outside, thunder rolled across the dark sky. Rain continued hitting the farmhouse windows. Finally, Lucas broke the silence. "Who is looking for you?" Lyra lowered her eyes. "I don't know exactly," Lucas frowned. "You don't know?" She shook her head. "There are many of them." That answer only created more questions. Before Lucas could ask another one, a sudden bright light flashed through the window. Both of them turned toward it. The light vanished just as quickly as it had appeared. Lucas walked to the window, far above the clouds. Something moved across the sky. At first, it looked like a falling star, but it was moving too slowly. Too carefully. His stomach tightened. Whatever it was not natural. Lyra joined him at the window the moment she saw the light. All color disappeared from her face. "They found me," she whispered. Lucas looked at her. "Who found you?" She did not answer. Instead, she stepped away from the window as if she wanted to hide from the sky itself. Lucas noticed her hands trembling. This was not the reaction of someone pretending to be afraid. She genuinely believed danger was coming. A loud beep suddenly echoed from the kitchen table. Lucas turned. His communication terminal had activated by itself. That was strange. The colony network rarely worked properly during storms. He walked over and looked at the screen. An emergency announcement appeared. "Attention Red Valley residents, unidentified object detected in orbit. Please remain indoors." Lucas felt a chill run through him. An unidentified object in orbit? That had never happened before. People visited the colony from time to time, but ships always announced themselves. Nobody simply appeared without warning. The message continued. "Colony authorities are investigating." Lucas looked toward Lyra. She was already reading the screen. Her expression had become even more worried. "That's not them," she said quietly. "What do you mean?" Lucas asked. "The object in orbit isn't the one searching for me." Lucas blinked. "There are more coming?" She nodded slowly. For a moment, Lucas wished he had never opened his front door. But when he looked at the frightened child standing in his living room, that feeling quickly disappeared. No matter who she was, she clearly needed help. Another flash of light appeared outside, this time much brighter. The entire farmhouse briefly glowed blue, then the lights flickered. Once, twice, 3 times, The power nearly failed. Lucas looked out the window again. The strange light in the sky had grown larger. Far larger. Now he could clearly see that it was a ship. A massive ship, even from this distance. Its size was unbelievable. It silently hovered above the clouds. Watching, waiting, Lyra stepped backward. "No," she whispered. Lucas turned toward her. "What is it?" Her eyes remained fixed on the sky. "I know that ship." The fear in her voice made Lucas uneasy. "You've seen it before?" She nodded. A painful memory seemed to pass through her mind. Then she spoke. "They destroyed my home." The room became silent. Lucas stared at her. Destroyed her home? What kind of enemies hunted a child across space? Before he could ask more questions, another alert appeared on the communication terminal. This one was different. The message came directly from colony security. "All residents report any unknown visitors. Immediately reward authorization approved." Lucas frowned. Reward? Why would security offer rewards? Then the amount appeared on the screen. His eyes widened. The number was enormous. Not as large as Lyra's bounty, but still enough to make anyone pay attention. Someone desperately wanted information. Lucas slowly looked at Lyra. The timing could not be a coincidence. The authorities did not know exactly who they were searching for yet. But they were getting close, very close. Lyra seemed to realize the same thing. "They'll search every house," she said quietly. Lucas remained silent. She was probably right. Red Valley was a small colony. There were not many places to hide. The storm outside had also begun weakening. Soon people would be moving around again. That would make things even harder. For several moments, Lucas thought carefully. Every logical part of his mind told him to contact the authorities. Handing over the girl would solve all his problems. But something felt wrong, very wrong. Everything he had seen so far told him one thing. Lyra was running from something dangerous, and despite what the bounty claimed, she looked more like a victim than a threat. Finally, Lucas made his decision. He walked to the window and closed the curtains. Then he locked the front door. Lyra watched him, confused. "What are you doing?" she asked. Lucas turned toward her. His answer surprised even himself. "I'm protecting a child," for the first time since arriving at the farmhouse. Lyra looked truly shocked, as if nobody had ever said those words to her before. But before either of them could speak again, a new light suddenly appeared outside, unlike the ship in orbit. This light was much closer, much closer. It moved across the fields toward the farmhouse. Lucas felt his heart begin to pound. Someone was coming, and whoever it was had found the farm far too quickly. The vehicle stopped just outside. A moment later, 3 dark figures stepped into the rain and began walking toward the front door. The 3 figures stopped outside the farmhouse. Rain fell around them. Their dark coats moved in the wind. For several seconds, nobody knocked, nobody spoke. They simply stood there, watching the house, inside. Lucas felt his heartbeat growing faster. Something about them felt wrong. Normal visitors would have called out. Normal visitors would have asked for shelter from the storm. These people did neither. They stood perfectly still, like machines waiting for instructions. Lyra stared at the front door. Her face had gone pale. "It's them," she whispered. Lucas looked at her. "The people hunting you?" She shook her head. "Not exactly." Before Lucas could ask what that meant, a loud knock echoed through the farmhouse. Bang! Bang! The sound was strong enough to shake the door. A voice followed, cold and emotionless. "Colony security inspection." Lucas frowned. Something felt strange. Security officers normally traveled in marked vehicles. These people had arrived in an unmarked transport. Another knock came, louder this time. "Open the door immediately." Lucas glanced toward Lyra. She was terrified, not nervous, not worried, terrified. The kind of fear that came from experience, as if she had seen these people before. Lucas quickly pointed toward a storage room beside the kitchen. Hide, Lyra hesitated. What if they find me? Lucas forced a calm smile. Then I'll deal with it. For a second, she simply stared at him, as if she couldn't understand why someone would help her. Then she hurried into the storage room. Lucas closed the door behind her. Another loud knock shook the house. Bang, bang. Lucas took a deep breath and walked to the entrance. Slowly, he opened the door. 3 men stood outside. All wore black uniforms. None carried colony security badges. That immediately caught Lucas's attention. The man in the center stepped forward. He was tall, with gray eyes and a face completely free of emotion. "We are conducting a search," he said. Lucas crossed his arms. "A search for what?" The man studied him for a moment, then answered, "A missing individual." "Who?" The man's eyes narrowed slightly. "That information is restricted," Lucas almost laughed. Nothing about this situation felt official. The second man suddenly stepped forward. His gaze moved across the farmhouse interior. "We received a signal from this area." Lucas kept his expression calm. "Lots of signals passed through this area." The 3 men exchanged a glance. The leader looked back at Lucas. "We need to inspect your property," Lucas immediately answered. "No." The rain continued falling around them. For the first time, the men seemed surprised. Most colony residents would have stepped aside immediately. The leader's voice became colder. "You are interfering with an active investigation," Lucas shrugged. "Then come back with actual security officers." For several seconds, nobody moved. The tension between them grew heavier. Then something unexpected happened. The leader smiled, but it wasn't a friendly smile. It looked dangerous, like a predator deciding how to catch prey. "We'll return," he said. Then all 3 men turned and walked away. Lucas watched them disappear into the rain. Only after their vehicle left did he close the door. He immediately locked it. A moment later, Lyra emerged from the storage room. "They're not security officers," she said. "I figured that out." She walked to the window, carefully pulling back the curtain. The vehicle was gone, yet she still looked worried. Lucas noticed something strange. Her eyes weren't following the road. They were focused on the sky, as if she expected danger from above. "What aren't you telling me?" he asked. Lyra remained silent. For several moments, she simply stood there. Then she finally spoke. "Those men work for collectors?" "Collectors?" She nodded. "They hunt rare things," Lucas frowned. "What kind of things?" Her answer came quietly. "People." The room fell silent. Lucas stared at her. Surely he had misunderstood. "You mean criminals?" She slowly shook her head. "Anyone valuable." A chill moved through Lucas's body. The bounty, the hunters, the ship in orbit. Everything suddenly felt much bigger than he had first believed. Before he could ask another question, every light inside the farmhouse suddenly turned off. Darkness filled the room. The refrigerator stopped humming. The heating system died. Even the communication terminal went silent. Lucas looked around. What happened? Lyra's expression immediately changed. Fear returned to her face. "They're here." The words had barely left her mouth when a deep vibration shook the entire farmhouse. The windows rattled. Dishes trembled inside the kitchen cabinets. Outside, a powerful blue light illuminated the fields. Lucas rushed to the window. His breath caught instantly. Something enormous hovered above Red Valley. A ship, but unlike any ship he had ever seen. Its surface glowed with moving patterns of light. The vessel was so large that it blocked part of the storm clouds. People across the colony were emerging from their homes. Everyone stared upward. Nobody understood what they were seeing. Then a beam of light descended from the ship. Directly into the center of the colony, Lucas felt a knot form in his stomach. Whatever was happening, it was only beginning, behind him. Lyra whispered something so quietly he almost didn't hear it. "They found us." Then her eyes widened. Not at the ship, not at the colony, but at something only she could see. A symbol had appeared on her damaged wrist device. a symbol glowing bright red. And the moment she saw it, pure terror filled her face, because she knew exactly who had arrived. The red symbol on Lyra's wrist device continued flashing over and over. The strange mark glowed like a warning from another world. Lucas had never seen it before. But he did not need an explanation to understand one thing, whatever that symbol meant. It terrified Lyra more than the giant ship above Red Valley. Outside, the colony had fallen into chaos. People stood in the streets looking at the sky. Children pointed toward the massive vessel. Some residents rushed back inside their homes. Others pulled out communication devices and began recording. Nobody knew what was happening. Rumors spread faster than the storm clouds. Inside the farmhouse, Lyra could barely breathe. Her hands trembled as she stared at the glowing symbol. Lucas stepped closer. What does it mean? For several seconds, she remained silent. Then she whispered, "They found the key," Lucas frowned. "The key to what?" Lyra looked up at him, her violet eyes filled with fear. "Me." The answer made no sense. But before Lucas could ask another question, the wrist device suddenly projected another hologram. Blue light filled the room. Lines of strange symbols appeared. Then a voice echoed from the device, a voice unlike anything Lucas had ever heard. It sounded old, cold, and powerful. Priority target confirmed. Subject designation, K7LYRA. Recovery protocol active. The message repeated. Again and again, Lucas looked at the frightened girl. The device wasn't calling her Lyra. It was calling her K7LYRA, like some kind of identification code. Not a name, a designation. The voice finally stopped. The hologram vanished. Silence returned. Only the distant sound of thunder remained. Lucas slowly sat down. The situation was becoming harder to understand with every passing minute. Finally, he asked the question that had been growing in his mind since the night began. "Who are you really?" Lyra lowered her head. For a long moment, she did not answer. Then she walked toward the window. The giant ship still hovered above the colony. Its lights moved slowly across the clouds, watching, searching, waiting. "My people once ruled thousands of worlds," she said quietly. Lucas blinked. That was not the answer he expected. Lyra continued, "A very long time ago, my species was powerful. We built cities among the stars. We created machines that could move entire planets." Lucas listened carefully. Her voice sounded distant, as if she were remembering something she wished she could forget. Then a war began, the largest war in galactic history. Lucas remained silent. Lyra stared at the ship above the colony. The war lasted generations. Entire star systems disappeared, billions died, and in the end, her voice weakened. "My people lost." The room became quiet. Lucas had heard stories about ancient galactic wars. Every colony child learned about them in school. But those events had happened thousands of years ago, long before humanity expanded beyond Earth. "You survived?" Lucas asked. Lyra slowly nodded. "I was one of the last." A chill moved through him. One of the last? That would explain why she was valuable. But it would not explain the impossible bounty, nor the armies searching for her. There had to be more, much more, before Lucas could speak again. A bright flash appeared outside. Several smaller ships descended from the massive vessel above. They moved toward the colony center. People immediately began running. Panic spread through the streets. Lucas watched from the window. "This is bad," he muttered. Lyra nodded. "Very bad." Then something unexpected happened. The farmhouse communication terminal suddenly activated. Even though the power had been cut, a face appeared on the screen. An elderly woman wearing a colony administration uniform. It was Governor Helen Brooks. Her expression looked tense. The emergency message was being broadcast across the entire colony. "Attention all residents," she said. "Remain calm and stay inside your homes. A diplomatic delegation has arrived unexpectedly. We are currently discussing the situation. Nobody believed her. Not even she looked convinced by her own words. Then the screen flickered for a brief second. A different image appeared, a classified document. Only visible for an instant, but long enough for Lucas to notice something important. A picture of Lyra. His heart nearly stopped. The image vanished immediately. The governor returned, continuing her speech as if nothing had happened. But Lucas had already seen enough. Someone inside the colony government knew exactly who Lyra was, and they were hiding it. The broadcast ended moments later. Silence returned once more. Lucas looked toward Lyra. She already knew. He could see it in her eyes. "They know I'm here," she whispered. Lucas did not argue. At this point it seemed obvious. The question was how much they knew, and how soon they would act. As if answering that thought, a loud sound echoed from outside. Not thunder, not engines, footsteps. Many footsteps. Lucas moved to the window. His stomach tightened instantly. Dozens of armed figures were entering the road leading toward the farmhouse. Some wore dark combat armor. Others carried advanced weapons Lucas had never seen before. They moved with purpose, like soldiers carrying out a mission. At the center of the group walked a tall woman dressed in silver armor. Unlike the others, she carried no weapon. She did not need one. Something about her presence alone felt dangerous. Lyra saw her the moment she did. All color vanished from her face. Her breathing stopped. For the first time since arriving at the farmhouse, Lucas saw true panic. Not fear, not worry, panic. "Who is she?" he asked. Lyra's voice barely escaped her lips. "The one who destroyed my home, outside." The silver-armored woman stopped directly in front of the farmhouse. Then she slowly looked up toward the window, straight at Lyra, and smiled. The woman in silver armor stood motionless in front of the farmhouse. Rain fell around her. Cold wind moved across the fields. Yet she looked completely unaffected, as if the storm itself avoided touching her. Behind her stood dozens of armed soldiers, every one of them silent, every one of them waiting. The entire road leading to the farmhouse was blocked. Lucas felt a knot tighten in his stomach. This was no search party. This was an army, and they had come for one child. Beside him, Lyra took a step backward. Her face had become pale. Lucas had seen fear in her eyes before, but this was different. This looked like the fear of someone seeing a nightmare return. The silver-armored woman slowly raised her hand. A small device appeared above her wrist. Moments later, every screen inside the farmhouse activated. The communication terminal, the kitchen display, even Lucas's old farm monitor. The woman's face appeared on all of them. She smiled calmly, almost kindly, which somehow made her seem even more dangerous. "Good evening," she said. Her voice was soft, controlled, and completely confident. "My name is Commander Serafini Voss." Lucas said nothing. The woman continued. "I believe you are sheltering a child named Lyra." The farmhouse became silent. Seraphine already knew. This was not a question, it was confirmation. Lucas crossed his arms. "What if I am?" The woman smiled again. "Then I would like her returned." Returned. Not rescued, not protected, returned. As if Lyra were property, Lucas glanced toward the girl. Her hands were trembling. Seraphine noticed, even through the screen. "Lyra," the commander said gently. "You've caused quite a lot of trouble." Lyra looked away, refusing to answer for a moment. The commander's smile disappeared. A colder expression replaced it. "Come with me willingly, or things become complicated." Lucas stepped closer to the screen. "She's staying here." The soldiers outside immediately reacted. Several tightened their grip on their weapons. Serafini simply stared at Lucas, studying him, trying to understand him. Finally she spoke. "Do you know who she is?" Lucas remained silent. "No," Seraphine continued. "You don't. If you knew the truth, You would hand her over immediately. Lucas looked at Lyra, then back at the screen. Maybe. The commander tilted her head slightly. Maybe. Lucas nodded. Or maybe I'd protect her anyway, for the first time. Seraphine looked genuinely surprised. The reaction lasted only a second, then her calm expression returned. You humans are interesting, she said. Always making emotional decisions, Lucas almost laughed. Coming from someone who arrived with an army. That statement felt strange. Outside, thunder rolled across the sky. The giant ship above Red Valley continued hovering silently. Watching everything below, then something unexpected happened. A loud alarm suddenly echoed across the colony. Not from the farmhouse, not from the soldiers. From the massive ship itself, every light on the vessel changed color. Blue became red. Across the colony, people looked upward, confused, worried. Even Seraphine glanced toward the sky. Her expression hardened instantly. Whatever she saw, she had not expected it. One of her officers rushed forward, speaking into a communication device. His voice was too distant to hear, but Lucas could see the concern on his face. Seconds later, he approached Seraphine. The commander listened carefully, then her eyes widened slightly. For the first time since arriving, she looked nervous. That frightened Lucas more than anything else. Because if someone like Seraphine was worried, the situation had become very serious. What happened? Lucas asked. The commander ignored him. She was already receiving more information. More officers began speaking urgently. Soldiers looked toward the sky. Some even stepped backward. Then Lyra suddenly whispered. Oh no! Lucas turned toward her. What is it? The girl stared through the window. Fear filled her violet eyes, but mixed with that fear was something new, recognition. They're here, she said. Lucas frowned. Who? Lyra swallowed hard. The real hunters. The word sent a chill through the room. The real hunters? If Seraphine's forces were not the true threat, then who was? As if answering the question, the clouds above Red Valley suddenly split apart. A bright white light descended from the sky. Not one beam, hundreds. The entire colony became illuminated. People shielded their eyes. Vehicles stopped moving. Even the rain seemed to disappear inside the strange glow. Then shapes emerged, massive shapes. Far larger than the ship already in orbit. Lucas stared upward in disbelief. More vessels, many more. Their size was impossible. Each one looked like a floating city. Dark metal structures stretching across the sky, silent, ancient, terrifying. Seraphine's soldiers immediately raised their weapons. Though against ships that size, the gesture looked meaningless. One of the new vessels activated a transmission. Every screen in the colony lit up. A symbol appeared. A symbol unlike any Lucas had ever seen. The moment Lyra saw it, she stopped breathing. The image remained for several seconds. Then a voice filled the colony. Deep, mechanical, and completely emotionless. Priority asset located. Recovery operation authorized. All unauthorized parties must surrender immediately. The message repeated across every channel. Again and again, Lucas looked toward Seraphine. The commander no longer appeared confident. Her calm smile was gone. Her soldiers were retreating toward their vehicles. For the first time, they looked afraid, very afraid. Then Lucas understood something. These newcomers were powerful enough to frighten the people who had destroyed worlds. And they wanted Lyra even more desperately. Outside, the white light grew brighter. A beam began descending directly toward the farmhouse. Lyra grabbed Lucas's arm. Her voice shook. We have to leave now. The beam continued moving closer. Closer, closer, until suddenly something stepped out of the light. And the moment Lyra saw the figure, a look of absolute horror appeared on her face. The figure stepped out of the white light, and the entire world seemed to grow silent. Even the wind slowed. Even the distant thunder faded. For a moment, nobody moved, nobody spoke. The stranger stood alone in the middle of the glowing beam, tall, motionless, covered in dark silver armor unlike anything Lucas had ever seen. The armor carried no visible weapons, no insignia, no rank markings. Yet somehow it looked more dangerous than every soldier outside combined. A long cloak moved gently behind the figure, though there was no wind inside the beam of light. Lucas felt a chill crawl down his spine. Something about this person felt ancient, as if they did not belong in the present. Beside him, Lyra stared at the stranger, her eyes wide, her breathing uneven. "No," she whispered. The figure slowly lifted its head, then removed its helmet. Lucas expected to see an alien face. Instead, he saw a woman. Her skin carried faint silver patterns, her white hair flowed down her shoulders, and her eyes glowed with soft blue light. The moment Lyra saw her face, tears appeared in her eyes. The girl took an uncertain step forward. "Guardian Alara," she whispered. The woman looked directly at Lyra. For the first time, emotion appeared on her face. Relief, deep relief, as if she had spent years searching for something she feared was lost forever. "Lyra," Alara said softly, "you are alive." The words sounded almost impossible for her to believe. Lucas looked between them. They knew each other, that much was obvious. But before anyone could move, the sound of engines echoed across the fields. Seraphine's soldiers had repositioned themselves, weapons aimed toward the glowing beam. The commander stepped forward. Her silver armor reflected the strange light, so Seraphine said. "The last guardian finally appears." Ilara turned toward her. The warmth immediately vanished from her expression. The air seemed colder, heavier, dangerous. "You should have stayed away," Ilara replied. Seraphine laughed softly. "I've spent 12 years looking for that child. I'm not leaving without her." Behind the commander, dozens of soldiers raised advanced weapons. The atmosphere instantly became tense. Lucas felt trapped between forces he could barely understand. Yet neither side seemed focused on him. Only Lyra mattered, only the child. Ilara looked toward Lyra again, then slowly walked forward. The soldiers immediately adjusted their aim, but Ilara ignored them. She stopped only a few feet from the farmhouse. For several seconds she simply looked at Lyra. Then she smiled, a real smile, the first one Lucas had seen all night. "You've grown," she said. Lyra suddenly ran forward, before Lucas could react. She threw her arms around Ilara. The woman embraced her immediately, for a brief moment. All the fear disappeared from the girl's face. She looked like a normal child again. A child who had finally found someone she trusted. Lucas watched quietly. Part of him felt relieved. Maybe this was the end. Maybe Lyra had finally found safety. Then Ilara spoke words that shattered that hope. "They know about the core, don't they?" Lyra froze slowly. She nodded. Ilara closed her eyes. The expression on her face darkened. Lucas frowned. "The core?" Another mystery, another secret. Seraphine clearly recognized the word as well. Her smile widened. "So it is true," the commander said. "The core survived." Ilara turned sharply toward her. "You have no idea what you're talking about." "Oh, I think I do," Seraphine replied. "Entire civilizations have searched for it. Empires have fallen trying to find it. And now it's standing inside that farmhouse." Lucas looked toward Lyra. Then back at Seraphine. The commander wasn't talking about an object. She was talking about the child. A sudden realization hit him. The bounty, the hunters, the fleets. None of this was about who Lyra was. It was about something she carried, something hidden. Something valuable enough to make the galaxy go to war. Then the giant ships above Red Valley activated again. Their lights intensified. The white beams became brighter. Across the colony, alarms started sounding. One after another, the new arrivals were preparing for something. Ilara immediately noticed. Her expression changed. "No," she whispered, for the first time. Fear appeared in her eyes, not fear for herself. Fear for everyone else. Lucas stepped closer. What is happening? Alara looked at him. For a second she seemed surprised that he was still there. Then she answered, "The fleet isn't here to capture Lyra." Lucas felt his stomach tighten. Then why are they here? Alara's voice became quiet, almost sorrowful. They're here to activate her. The words hung in the air. Nobody spoke, nobody moved. Then every screen in the colony suddenly lit up again. A countdown appeared, large red numbers visible everywhere. Farmhouses, vehicles, security stations. Every screen, every device. The countdown began at 60 seconds. Lucas stared at it. What does that mean? Alara's face turned pale. It means we're out of time, above Red Valley. The enormous ship started moving into formation. The clouds twisted around them. Energy gathered along their surfaces. The entire sky glowed white. And in the center of the countdown screen, a single message appeared. One sentence that made even Alara step backward. Genesis protocol ready for activation. Lyra looked at the message. Then at Alara, confusion filled her eyes, but Alara already understood. And the horror on her face told Lucas everything he needed to know. Whatever Genesis protocol was, it was far worse than anyone had imagined. And in less than 60 seconds, it was going to begin. The countdown continued. 59, 58, 57. Red numbers burned across every screen in Red Valley, inside homes, inside vehicles, even inside military systems. There was no escaping it. The entire colony was forced to watch. Lucas stood frozen near the window. His mind struggled to process what was happening. Above them, the sky had become a battlefield of light. Massive ships held position in perfect formation. Energy fields stretched between them like glowing chains. The storm was gone now, as if even nature refused to stay. Lyra stood close to Alara, her small hands shaking. She looked confused, but not completely. Something deep inside her seemed to understand more than she could explain. Genesis protocol, Lucas repeated quietly. What is it? Alara did not answer immediately. Her eyes stayed fixed on the sky. Then she spoke, her voice low, heavy.